My name is Kylie James. I'm a certified nutritionist here at Koru Nutrition, and I'm here with a special guest, Dr. Olivia Chubey. She's our naturopath doctor here, and today I wanted to talk about menopause. I know a lot of my friends are going through this right now, and it comes with a whole bunch of challenges. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity, since Olivia deals with hormones, looking at menopause, what it is, and why would you see a naturopath doctor, and how they can help address some of those horrible menopause symptoms. So Olivia, thanks so much for joining us today. Such a pleasure. So yeah, I guess if you want to start by just defining what is menopause, because it's not so straightforward, is it?
It isn't really when we look at the clinical approaches and the clinical manifestations of it. From a definition, and this is what you would typically hear from your medical doctor, is that it's the period of time where you have stopped menstruating and it has been a clear year in which you have stopped menstruating. That is technically the definition of menopause. However, we clinically know that that's not how it is. It's not just an easy process like that at all. It is quite difficult for many women, and it's actually quite a long journey and period of time in which they are in menopause.
Okay. So I know you specialize in hormones. So I know menopause is part of the natural aging process that us women have to go through. But why would they come to you?
Right. So this is a great question. And why would you see someone if what's happening is normal? Is because just because things are described as common or normal, they might not actually be. And this is because we don't have, I would say, lifestyles that support us having uninterrupted normal physiology most of the time. Most moms or women who are going through menopause come from highly stressed environments, overworked, burnt out. They might already have hormonal issues that are struggling with. They might already have sleep issues that they are struggling with, separate from the symptoms that menopause can give you. Also, many people don't know you can have what's called peri-menopause. So we said, right, menopause is just that 1 year you've had no period. Really what goes on is there's peri-menopause. There's a slow progression, sometimes even quick progression, depending on who you are, into menopause. So these type of menopause symptoms that you can have, and Kylie, I'm sure we'll go over those exact symptoms in a bit, but just keep with me. Those menopausal symptoms you can have for up to a decade, even 12, 15 years.
Wow,
Why would you suffer that long just because you think it's normal, right? Yeah. And it's not, while a bit of it is normal and having a bit of these symptoms are normal, most of us experience the symptoms very intensely and very severely. And because some of us are entering this perimenopausal age quite in the prime of our career lifestyle, we're finding it's very much affecting our workability and our home life balance. So, you know, just to be told it's normal and not actually get better and treat and work with it does you a disservice, really.
So what are some of the symptoms that are typical and common for people that are perimenopause, that they're going through?
Yeah. So, and I think we, already sleep issues. So insomnia or sleep disturbances, a common one, loss of libido and sexual function. So a lot of vaginal dryness, hot flashes, night sweats. This is the one that everyone knows. And so sometimes, unless you don't have that hot flash symptom, people don't come in to get treated, which is, you could not have that and have everything else and just think, oh, I'm aging or something's not working. Weight gain is usually what brings people in the door. So I'm exercising right, I'm eating right, yet I'm still getting this like tire around the middle that's developing. The periods, while should be easing up, for some, they actually get a lot worse and a lot heavier. You can get breast changes, you can get crazy migraines and headaches. You lose your ability to tolerate your occasional wine, which sometimes is it's very upsetting for most, right? We also have just elasticity changes, blood sugar balancing problems. There's so many. And mood, and the most thing I think it's also mood and cognition abilities, that brain fog, more irritable, maybe depression for some people. So honestly, it's almost every symptom of every woman presents differently depending on what their hormones are doing.
So if someone comes to you, what do you look at and what are some of the recommendations that you would make?
So I do want certain blood work, right, to be checked, because in addition, and that's the direct hormone link. So when I say what's hormones, we always think, oh, our estrogen is dropping, but so is your progesterone. Your testosterone balance in relation to those is also changing. So we actually need to know what we're dealing with, because if we assume it's just your estrogen and we boost up your estrogen, we could actually be making those migraines worse, for example. Maybe some of those symptoms are actually from your progesterone being really low. And so that's why we do need objective markers. So taking blood work, sometimes we also do saliva checks as well, but typically it's blood work in relation to the hormones.
We also when you said saliva, because does cortisol come into play when people are going through menopause?
It does, because this is the huge thing. A lot of people don't know that once you start losing your endogenous supply of hormones from your ovaries and that relationship, your adrenals take over. So your adrenals actually do start to put out your sex hormones. And if your adrenals are already taxed with the amount of cortisol production, that's going to affect things. And
so it's a double whammy living through a pandemic on top of going through menopause. It's like double whammy. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And especially if you do have to do, if you had been keeping kids home from school and managing them as well and trying to work from home, all of the things. And that's what people don't realize. Some of what they're feeling is not actually menopause related. It's correlated, but it's actually like overall fatigue and that lack of homeostasis and regulation of their cortisol and their other hormones that are secreted, like their adrenaline, for common terms, from their adrenal glands.
Yeah. So they come to you, you do all this blood work to look at where their hormones is, the balances, and like I said, not just estrogen, but testosterone, progesterone, maybe cortisol. So what
cortisol and thyroid as well.
Thyroid, right? Yes. Yeah. So what would be some of the recommendations that people would that you would recommend for people going through this?
Yeah, so based on what the blood work said, it would kind of fine tune actually where we need to go. And in addition to the blood work, we do a lifestyle check, right? Because, for example, I don't need to test your melatonin might be low if you're sleeping poorly, right? That would also help, right? But normally, like, it depends on what your symptoms are. But like, for example, if we are going to talk about hot flashes, we might look at something like isoflavones. So whether that looks like soy, having a more vegetarian diet, there's research showing that isoflavones in the diet, whether through protein or food, can shift those hot flashes. Same with St. John's wort. St. John's wort is also a double whammy because it works on the mood as well. Then we typically, so if you do have what's called, like if your estrogen is the issue, we have a herb called black cohosh. And so that's an estrogen mimicker and can also help just ease that transition. So it doesn't feel like a sheer drop, but a slow, gradual thing as well, right? We don't want to give you so much. We're always working in balance, right? We're not replacing estrogen to the same high level, because if we did, we actually put you at a risk of breast cancer, right? And this is where we do have to be careful with bioidentical hormones if you are going that path, right? Because too much estrogen is also a problem. It's actually healthy for some of us to be in menopause, right? But black cohosh is a mimicker that we can use to help ease off a lot of symptoms, specifically hot flashes in this case, and rhubarb and vitamin E. So these are some things that we would use for hot flashes in particular. But again, we would really do a thorough intake to see what your symptoms are, because it's not just a common approach for everyone. Someone might, like we said, not have these symptoms at all and have a different set of symptoms, but that's their menopause based on how their body
so I guess the big one for women is the weight gain, right? That tire, like I've heard so many women that say like just as soon as they turn 48, they put on like 10, 15, 20 pounds, maybe even more in a year. And they haven't made any changes. Like you say, they're still exercising, still diet, like trying to watch what they eat. So what would be recommendations for those people just trying to manage that weight gain that occurs during this time?
Yeah, and so this is why I like really want to see that blood work, because usually what happens is women don't know that their thyroid is slowly becoming more hypoactive. And because there's this relationship with it's called the HPAT, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal thyroid function, right? So if they're burnt out with the adrenals and their thyroid is slowly crashing, and then they're like their ovaries are saying, no, I'm not producing the sex steroids anymore, and the adrenal takes the hit, so is the thyroid even more. And we know thyroid plays a huge role in metabolic things. So I'd want to double check first that there's what their thyroid is like. So we would be doing a lot of stuff like ashwagandha, maybe looking at iodine, maybe looking at other supplements for the thyroid in this case. We'd also be looking at like cortisol and fasting insulin. So a lot of people have with menopause this inability to balance their blood sugar. Again, mostly because of this cortisol. So we'd have to look at maybe magnolia, rhodiola, things to balance that cortisol, and then insulin specific things. So cinnamon, chromium, berberine, things to balance that fasting insulin. And once those are brought back into normal levels, we typically see that weight loss. It is normal to gain a little bit, because where do we store estrogen? In our fat cells. So we do have a natural buffer in our fat, unfortunately, that actually should help ease some of that symptoms. But there's a difference between having like maybe 5 extra pounds, a little bit, and just really getting that tire bulge, not making a difference between anything you do. So.
Okay, great. And then I just need to ask about the alcohol piece. How does alcohol impact on menopause?
So everyone has a different, I guess, opinion on alcohol. You know, some people say, well, it has been rated, I think newly it's considered a carcinogen. And I think really the World Health Organization is just really pushing on clean behaviors. I'm kind of the mentality that you have to enjoy your life a little bit. You know what I mean? We're here for only so long. It's one thing to have it nightly, right? Versus enjoy it socially. So what typically happens is in menopause, because of that blood sugar, because of usually, again, it's a lifestyle that has carried into menopause. So if we haven't had a balanced lifestyle, if we are taxing our liver in other ways, what we just might have is a poorer natural detoxification of process. So your liver's just has a lot of work to do. It's an amazing organ. It reincorporates, it detoxes itself, but sometimes it just is slower at doing it with age, but also with other symptoms that we have going on in our body, if we're battling a lot of inflammation, for example. And so because of that, we are less likely to tolerate the same amount of alcohol. We're more likely to develop hangovers and have side effects. So in these cases, we would be looking at supporting the liver in its detox 1 and 2 phases with supplements and herbs shown to improve and help those phases. And so when we do drink, we top up on those to help us have a better experience, or not not a horrible hangover and headache, and less flush and all these things. Overall, just supporting the liver's natural processes. And again, with that, just managing that blood sugar, maybe drinking a bit more water, we can see just enjoying alcohol socially be okay.
Yeah.
And not
So I guess I guess the bottom line is it is a natural process, but we don't need to suffer as much as what some of us might be. But definitely it's an individual approach based on where you're at with your hormones and your lifestyle and your diet. So Olivia, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I definitely feel like this is a hot topic and I definitely get a lot of questions asked about it. So yeah, if anyone is interested in having a consult with Olivia, please go to our website, www.korunutrition.com, and there's a booking app where you can go on and schedule an assessment with Olivia. So thank you so much, Olivia. Really appreciate it. Always a pleasure. And everyone stay safe out there. Thanks, guys. Bye.